of you. Welcome to uh, this Hayford session on compensation and benefits. So, we always say that uh, business. I remember asking this long back with to someone at home, an elder at home, when I was very small. What is a business? Why do you? What is it that you always do business? What does it mean? What is it? So pester that guy. So he told me it's very simple. It consists of three M's. In those days, it was three M's. He said, men, money, and material. Business is the same today. Material you can buy, money you can make. It depends on how well the men involved or the people do it. So, of course, today times have changed. Words have become different, fashionable words are used. So instead of just limiting it to men, we say people, more inclusive. Instead of money, we use a more posh finance. Material somehow remains material. If you look at this, the most important component here, there's something that we don't have any hold on, are the people. The real variable are the people. They decide what material to use. They decide on policies and decisions which determine how much money the company makes. So what determines what kind of people stay in a company and what kind of people leave the company? I guess all of you are aware of the many factors. There are many, many factors. Prime amongst them, of course, we all know, are people themselves. Like it is said that a person does not leave a company, but he leaves as managers. Wonderful. At the same time, the next most important thing in any individual's life, the very reason why so many millions of expats are staying in this country, the reason is the second M, money. In an organization, of course, this translates it into a much more polished compensation and benefits. But money by itself is just not enough. Money is a very strong cement which will hold a lot of other important things together. So if this money component is not there, you remove it, everything else falls. You may have a wonderful internal environment in an office. You might have the most beautiful of buildings. You may be serving the best of, food each lunchtime in your office. The works, you may roll out the works, but if it is not held together by the cement of compensation and benefits, people would not stay there. It is just that. It is just the cement that holds everything together. Okay, so let's see. I have a short kind of set of deck of slides on this. So we look at some of them. I'm not going to throw all these slides at you, but let's have a look at some of them at least. When we say compensation,
can you make it full slide?
It's not full.
Slideshow.
It's not full now.
No.
Okay, just a minute.
Slideshow.
Yeah, it is in slideshow mode. Give me a minute. Is it full now?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So when we say compensation and benefits, we are really talking about all these things. We are talking about total rewards. We're talking about incentive programs. Total rewards are all the various kinds of salaries we split the salary into. Incentive programs, which includes bonuses, payroll and benefits is part of it. And of course, a very important factor, that is the EVP, the employee value proposition. So how do we ensure that our rewards program or a compensation and benefits program appeals to the employees. This is not really a case of just throwing a lot of money at people. That may be okay in some kind of sectors or some industrial sectors where you have a very low level of awareness amongst the employees. Because in today's world, it's not just the money that matters or that should matter to an individual. What should matter, like if, for example, a person makes a lot of money for 3 years, and then at the end of 3 years, he is redundant because his company never thought of upgrading his skills, upgrading his knowledge. Okay, so there are a lot of other factors. Like I said, money is just the cement that everything, or that holds everything together. So let's go further forward. When we talk about the total, the entire compensation design, how do we want to give it? I think all of us would be aware of, splitting it into basic and otherwise. And every effort is there to ensure that the company makes a profit. I think we got a lot to learn from some of these good European companies where they live life very realistically, because if you look at any normal company, anything with less than say 10,000 employees, 50 to 10,000 employees, if you are going to reduce 1,000 dirhams from every employee, how much money are you going to save? Compare it with the company's total turnover. If there are 5,000 employees in a company, the company would be making at least, say, anywhere between, say, 100 to 500 million dirhams a year. Otherwise, you're not doing business. Okay, so against that backdrop, if by cutting down employees' salary by, by reducing it to, say, 40%, 30% basic, rest is all variable salary or what allowances. So when he leaves, already we are planning. When he leaves, we calculate only on the small basic. That is the end objective. I mean, is that a very great way to plan a salary, plan a compensation design? I do not know. I leave it to each one of us. I guess each one of us is an enlightened HR person. What we are looking at in sessions like these are any new ideas that are coming through. Is there something that I can latch on, and can I modify it and apply it in my company? I guess that's what we all expect or look forward to. So I'll stick with that. But these are thoughts that often come, and we need to answer those thoughts to ourselves. Is that right? What if I pay, say, 80-20? 80% basic, 20% allowances, or 100%. 100% is up there for takes. Of course, it's not done by many companies. So these are questions we have to live with. So we have something called total rewards. Total rewards, what does the employee have at the end of the year or end of the month that goes to him? So this would depend on, like all employees at the same in the same level will not be getting the same amount of compensation. So this would depend on the employee's value to the company. An employee's value to the company is his current contribution plus his potential contribution in the future, and to a small extent what he has done yesterday. But yesterday is not important in the business world, because we always say that any person is as good as his last order, or any person is as good as his last business idea. What is past is past. Okay, so total rewards. And then, of course, we have one more value that we need, one more aspect that we need to keep in mind, that is administration and optimization. Whatever we think of, whatever we give out as rewards, we need to keep these 4 factors in mind. Access, we can split it into this. That's what I'm trying to say. We can give, like I said, keep the basic and allowances, of course, are always there. Basic is often mandated by law. Sorry, access, I didn't finish. Access is a sort of a incentive or a bonus where an employer gives access to a facility The rest, the employee manages. Like there are companies who give trips to Europe for employees who have done exceedingly well. Some of the good companies, again, not everyone is giving, of course. So where they give the ticket, a ticket and a visa are given to that person. Rest is on him, where he lives, or where he goes with families, or where they live, what they eat, is all up to them. Okay, so these are the access rewards. Basic is as per the law, we have to give it. Now, contingent rewards. Contingent rewards are interesting because this is, again, directly, proportional to his performance. So there are many companies, various sectors, a component cannot be standardized across different sectors. Like it will be something different in the hospitality industry. It will be totally different in a consulting firm like us. It will be very different in a general trading company. Okay, so, but things like contingent rewards, we can somehow find a place for it in almost any kind of company because it is based on performance, and you define performance as a company or a HR controlling this. We could define performance, and to be, to be really successful, we must try to see that we don't get caught into that, rank 1, rank 2, rank 3 chaos. Better to keep a benchmark and say anyone over this benchmark gets this reward. And then we come to differentiators. So ABC, access, basic, and contingent rewards will generally sum up most of the total rewards. Companies are known for their unique, compensation ideas. So the differentiators. What are the differentiators? Now, even here in UAE, amongst various companies in similar bracket, you'll find huge differentiators. In the case of some companies, like my previous employer was one of those companies which had multiple companies in its group in different sectors. Okay, so there, of course, basic had to be given, allowances were there, contingent rewards were there, incentives were there, but everything put together, the people working there were about, I think, 10 to 15% at least, and in some cases 20% less than the industry average. We were aware of it. But look at the pro side of things, the good side of things. In the same place, if they had, I think, 3 or 4 good restaurants, absolutely grade 1 restaurants. If you go there, one would get an employee, if he shows his employee card, gets a 75% discount, 50 to 75% discount. Okay, depending on the bill. Bigger the bill, bigger the discount. They had pharmacies. If you visit pharmacies, you get up to 50% discounts on your purchases. They had a trading company. You could buy any odd item from there. They had a huge catalog of items. You buy anything from there, you could get anywhere between 25 to 50% discount. And so on and so forth. There's so many. There's a fitness club. What do you call it? Something like Fitness First. Membership there was at a very deep discount. I mean, I don't even remember how much I paid. A very small amount. Now, if you total up all these benefits, we suddenly find that, hey, we are actually, getting more by about 30% compared to the industry standards. And this is across all levels. It starts from the junior most guy to the probably the owner of the company. We all get the same kind of benefits, declared benefits. So differentiators, in this case, the differentiator there was something which very, very few companies could achieve. And that is, offering services and facilities to the employees. Because every employee was getting a lot of services or products, which otherwise he would have to pay a good amount, a good premium amount. But in this case, they were getting it almost at for a song, literally. Okay, so this is a typical classic differentiator. It could be anything else, whatever one feels, and it depends on the sector, because depending on the sector, you have access to various unique propositions which you could give to the employees. Okay, like if you look at the hospitality sector, you find some crazy differentiators there. Airlines, as a what started off as a sort of a differentiator with one or two airlines long back is now considered a benchmark which you have to give. That is for all the staff of the airline. They give anywhere between 20 to 40 FOC tickets. A flight to anywhere in the world, direct flights. You could go anywhere. So if it's a direct flight operating from point A to point B, C, D, anywhere, you can book it. So it ranges. Some airlines give 20, others give 40 free tickets. Sorry. Okay, so whatever we give, we need to ensure that it's done well. It should be implemented well, and that is where we talk about administration and optimization. So define your differentiator. See what motivates your employees. Develop a total rewards brand. And whatever you do with the employees, ensure that you personalize the experience. There's nothing as boring as getting a mail with no addressee on it. If you're sending somebody incentive mail, at least write dear Mr. So and so. Or in many companies, most of the American companies and now even the French companies had access to two of them. I mean, they have started using first names. Nothing like it. It shows the moment you use a person's name, it shows that you value him. And we in HR should know the value of this, that feeling, the feeling of bonding. So reach people through multiple communication channels, and whenever and whoever is doing these reward management, please ensure that the person projects the cost and risk profile of the rewards. Risk profile is once you decide to give a reward, you should be aware of the possibility that the person may leave. Okay, so I added this here because in many sectors, many companies, when you give a person an incentive, you expect him to be loyal. Let's be very clear. If loyalty is what you're expecting, I mean, don't get humans. Get dogs. They're very loyal. Humans have to be motivated. Okay. So, and don't expect loyalty, expect excellence. When you have people, expect excellence. When you have dogs, you expect loyalty. So risk profile is just that, because here it's considered a risk. And please remember, when we give an incentive, it is not for future. When you give an increment, it is for the future. When you give an incentive, it is for the past. It's for the past. He's already performed, so he has earned it. Right. So even increments, why are we giving a person an increment? Because that person has performed sometime in the past. So we increase the salary. Okay, now that, I mean, it doesn't come through in this, so I'm just adding on one more aspect there. There are very creative ways that people give increments now. Okay, so one of them is here, for example, in a normal thing, as per the what do you call the More recommendations, what do? We divided it into, say, 50% or 40% we put into basic, rest we give as allowances, right? Now, there are companies who are dividing it into three. A large part, 80% of the increment, annual increment, they give us a single payment to the individual right away, because this they are giving for, they have combined increment, the increment with bonus. This they are giving for a performance that has already come through. It's already happened. So 80% goes there. Balance 20% they split, 40% or 20% to basic and the balance to allowances. Now here, it again, if you see the companies who are doing this, the employees are very happy because they get a bonus amount, and they don't, for the companies are very happy because it doesn't inflate the base of the employee. You don't have to risk paying out a huge amount on a monthly basis and a bigger payout when he leaves. So such an employee, if he leaves, because these are the end of the day, we have like, I do accept that we have to retain employees. So here, if the employee leaves, his base is very small. But if he stays, he makes a lot of money if he's a performer. Okay, so then these are the other components in the reward. These were two slightly important points, so I dwelt a little bit of detail there. Now, if you look at this, rewards can also be strategic rewards. They could also be individual differentiations. Individual differentiation is where there are 4 managers or 5 managers at the same level in different functions in a company, or maybe even in the same function. They will not always get the same amount of salaries, right? The compensation would differ. So these are those the factors which would cause that differentiation. Strategic rewards depend on, again, on the individual and his importance to the company. So a very sort of a rare skill set. Naturally, that person would command a big salary, and the company would go out of its way to ensure that such a person is comfortable and doesn't leave easily. Okay, so then those strategic rewards, today, the way these are administered, there are 2 main principles. One is the best fit perspective and the best practices advocates claim. Best fit is very simple. There it's more realistic. In best fit, you determine what is the best that the company can offer as a strategic reward to people who matter. Okay, so it is perfectly logical. It is limited. It's only limited by the company's own, capital base, what they can spare for a reward. The best practices that advocates claim now under this head is real idealism. How much should be given? What would be a good practice? So we are looking at the following correct practices and being right and doing our best to get the best employees to stay on for the longest period of time. So although this is a great way to go, best fit perspective would usually suit medium-sized companies more because you don't end up overspending on employees. Okay, objective here is to attract and retain employees, motivate performance. Normal, what we all probably already know, promote skill development and encourage a corporate culture and determine pay costs. In fact, this is something which we must have ready at hand. And we must also remember that, whenever we do a strategic reward planning, it must meet both individual and organizational needs. Individual in terms of quantity, X thousands of dirhams. Organizational needs in terms of people who stay back. So, there are certain people, like I was telling you, like when you do the strategic reward, you end up budgeting a big amount of money for maybe 1 or 2, or maximum 3 critical individuals in the company, where you want them to stay. They should not leave the company, or like we are set back by a few weeks or months. So for such people, I added this here because many companies make the mistake of slotting these individuals into very senior grades. As you go higher in grade, the perks differ, right? The perks and other benefits differs. So classically, in a company with M1 to M20 grades, where 1 is junior most, 20 is senior most, as you go up from M7 to 8 to 10, your perks go up, all your other various things go up. Okay. Now, in comes a person who's a highly valued, valuable employee, very valuable employee, critical guy, strategic to retain him. He has to be paid about 20,000 extra. Okay, the difference between his expected salary, his ask, and the normal company's average at that grade at which he is coming in is 20,000, let's say. How do you do it? In many cases I've seen, this guy is straight away slotted into, instead of M8, he floats up to M13, M12. No reason. It's better to have him stay in M8. Okay, because when you negotiate a salary where a person is junior in grade, but commanding a high salary, he will not be negotiating for perks. Even if he does, we can, bring it down. Salary part, cash rewards, they will not compromise. So this 20,000 extra that we give should always be given outside of this pay grade. Give it as a special allowance, give it as employability pay, give it as a person-based, what a specialty person pay, or to create a new head for it, no issues. But don't let it enter the salary component. This is already being done by many companies because they realize the folly of, in getting the special pay into the salary grade thing, Individual differentiators are possible when there is a differences in the scope of positions in an organizational context, or in certain cases, due to certain superior, extremely high individual or team contributions. There is one team in a company doing brilliantly. So that's a direct differentiation. So they would command a huge reward each time. But in the absence of these, what normally is done is we segment the workforce, the entire employee list, and then try to create a flexible compensation with the incentive plans. And generally it works. Okay, so of course, today we have the advantage of even going ahead with individual differentiators because for those of us who are fortunate enough to be working on a HRIS, all this is possible within the system. Okay, so market conformity is again part of the whole bigger show. I don't want to spend too much time on that. We all know the importance of that. This again, let's go through it quick. I just want to progress because this is something common knowledge for all of us. Like all these various components of a total reward. Fixed pay, that is your base pay, and different types of other, allowances, fixed allowances. Variable pay are the bonuses and incentives, commissions, performance linked. Work-life balance, caring for dependents, supporting health and wellness, workplace flexibility, financial support. And there's something that I noticed which was very interesting. Since coming here, I noticed not only here, even in 2 other countries where I worked, whenever a company gets ready for a work-life balance focus, starting, not been doing it so far, let's start. Yes. So the first thing they do is get into a workplace flexibility situation by having flexi timing. It's nice because it's the easiest to implement. So easy to get approvals. Okay, so the benefits. Now, many of the benefits are mandated by the governments in most of the countries, including UAE. So one is healthcare insurance, and then this is a compulsory thing. Welfare, retirement and investment plans, and many other benefits. These are all optional. Like there are many companies which give life insurance cover. It's not mandatory. They pay the premium on behalf of the employees. They pay it as a bonus, as a single payment for all the employees. They get discounts. It's not compulsory, but people do it. So I'm just skipping through these. Remuneration survey, this is again an area where I've seen extremes in UAE. Not just UAE, I've done this in India also. There also I saw extremes. There are some companies, big companies, which insist on doing it themselves. And nothing wrong. I'm not saying anything wrong. But the thing is, look, all of us, we are professionals. Okay. And I guess almost all of us here among you in this, people who have come in, I don't think you're really multifunctional. You must be focusing on HR, right? Because there is enough work to do. Now, just consider the thing, situation where you and your team are already working 8 to 10 hours a day, trying to keep things, normal and current. And suddenly you discover that, hey, my entire remuneration, survey and remuneration base is outdated. We need to do it. So we sound out the management, go to the CEO or equivalent, whatever, tell him that we need to do it. So how much money? So we mention money. So again, law of percentages. I don't know in how many companies HR is considered a operational necessity. In many companies, I still hear very clearly people saying that HR, along with a couple of other departments, is a cost. So in one of them, of course, I had the freedom to ask them, if HR is a cost, how did you enter the company? So I mean, if that being the case, very often I've seen this activity, remuneration survey activity, come back to HR. Now, if you have the luxury or if you have whatever the freedom of a large team, where you can spare 1 or 2 people to do a sample survey of at least 80 to 100 companies, it is great. But consider a situation where most of us, we would be part of a single person or a 2-person HR team doing all the activities, and yet we'll be considered a cost, of course. And then on top of that, we also go in and do a remuneration survey. So it's not practical. So keep these factors in mind, because if you are really interested in a remuneration survey, the best way is to outsource it. And if you want an existing data, it's very cheap. I think remuneration data, I mean, the last time I picked it up was about 5 years back, 2018, no, 2017. So that time we paid $2,000 for an existing database from one of these companies. I mean, there are survey companies, no? So we asked them, what if we want an existing database? So they said, I mean, we'll bring it up to date and give it to you. Accuracy, I mean, they were telling us 90+% accuracy is good enough for our use. Okay, so this, of course, is the way it is done. Absolutely, I'm very sure that all of you would be aware of it. First, to select the market where you want to operate. So for a retail company, the retail market of that particular sector would be the one. Because if you are in garments, focusing only on garments retail, so you select the retail garment sector. And then, also remember that this would depend on the organizational factor, labor market conditions currently prevailing, and the product market. So organizational factor is simple: how big or how powerful, how weighty, I should say, how heavy is the organization in the market. So that would mean a lot. Okay, be a big factor. Labor market is a big factor. Like right now, we are bouncing back. So salaries are fairly good. There's a shortage of the right kind of skills in the market because people are willing to pay for anything. Product market share, the product markets, if you see, Everyone is really fighting for market share, and there are multiple brands in different segments doing exceedingly well. Earlier, we used to have one clear leader. Now, not so now, because a lot of people have started buying. Many more people are now buying their brands. Okay, so these are three big determinants of the way the selected market is behaving at a particular point in time. Collection of data is the next step. So how do we do it? Here again, it could be, look, this entire process could be outsourced, or one could just outsource data collection. Everything else keep in-house. This data collection is really a tedious job. So especially if you want physical data, because things like sampling. So you either have people doing physical sampling in the market, or you could have sampling online. People who respond send out samples to them and get their responses. So online samples, what I found is it takes almost as much time as a physical sampling done. You need almost the same number of people, and it's a bit more expensive than physical sampling, because in physical sampling you can make do with lower salaries, and you only need to give a daily expense. On the other side, when you shift it online, you end up spending a lot of money on actual transportation of goods. Data analysis, statistical analysis, market pay line, all these things are basically the calculation part, analytic part. You could keep in-house if you have the expertise. Otherwise, even this could be outsourced. So what you outsource, what you keep in, would depend totally on the individual. This again, I'm skipping because I'm sure that most of you would already be knowing it. It's the basics of making a grade, salary grade, where you have multiple grades. We could go on up to 20 or 22 or 24. You determine a minimum and a maximum for each grade. Okay, so once it is done, the midpoints of all these grades should be the company's policy line, salary policy line. Okay, and this would generally be the P50, or what we call the 50th percentile, like we call. There would be equal numbers of data below and above this line. Very often, when you plot the actual salary line, the real payout line, it may be a bit above the policy line. It doesn't matter. It can be. Okay, there's nothing to get worried. It can be. I mean, as long as it is somewhere near the policy line, 10% plus or minus, I mean, it's great. What matters is this policy line. If you put a market, actually, in benchmarking, what we put is the market line 2. In this figure, I mean, this is from a standard source. So the market average line is missing in this. So that 2 should be there. So as long as our actual company in a data line is above or equal to the market average line, it's good. Because it just means that we are playing at the market level. Our salaries are at the market level. We are neither less nor more. These are the red circle, green circle concept. Any employee in a particular grade earning more than the maximum is a red circle employee. Earning less than the minimum is a green circle guy. So let's let it be. I mean, ideally, these guys should be shifted up. Okay. So we'll cover it more in the sessions rather than here. Now, this again is a major difference that I found. This a very interesting topic to see in practice. Some companies are absolutely job-based, while others are person-based. For example, in a consulting firm, it generally tends to be person-based, while any other commercial entity, say healthcare, tends to be person-based. While there are many other commercial entities where this entire thing tends to be job based. That means, the pay would depend on what is the designation of the person, or what is the level of the person in the organization. While in a person-based one, the person's salary or his pay would depend on how many skills or competencies he's got. This guy, the people here don't try to get promoted to get more money. They go out and acquire one more skill so that they get more projects, or so that they are included into more teams. Like in hospitality sector, they would be included into more teams, for example, maybe. Okay, so that would, and each exposure gives them more money. Financially, it's beneficial to them. So in this, skills and competencies are rewarded. While here, it's a level in the organization, the level in the hierarchy that is compensated. Now, how do we do an assessment of this? In job-based, the only thing we can do in a job-based thing is job analysis and evaluation. So we get to have a job description, we have the KPIs, and we see how they perform. While in a person-based one, we have to do a skill and competence analysis of every individual. It is usually a self-evaluation in this case, and of course, certifications. We look at, each year, in these kind of companies, each year, the employees, especially, and this is maximum towards the more senior side, they come up with newer certifications, upgradation of their skills, a revalidation of the existing certificates. So it's very interesting. A person-based salary system is very interesting to study. Of course, I'm not saying that any one of these is going to be 100% useful across the board. No. There are industries where you need this. There are industries where this is better. Okay, both are required. It's not one versus the other. But these are two distinct systems. And if you look at and you can mix and match both, that is also there. In any company where you have deliveries happening, client deliverables happening, you could have a person-based pay. While in other hierarchy, like back office and other hierarchical functions, you could have a job-based one. Advantages of job-based are very clear expectations. Everything is laid out. It's easy to understand. It's easy to project, easy to discuss, and easy to make people understand. Like you're here, you get 5,000. You're here, you get 10,000. Here, you get 15,000. Clear, no issues. Here, it's tough. A guy goes out and gets a embedded software technology certification. So he gets a 5,000 dirham jump. Another guy, similar guy, he goes and does his Web3 and comes back. He gets 8,000 bucks. So both have done 3-month programs. So, there's another guy who goes out and does a blockchain specialization program, comes back, he also gets 8,000. Okay, so here, everything depends on what kind of certifications and what kind of skills and competencies they have come back with. Okay, flexibility. Person base is always flexible because a new project has come. You are nominated Mr. A, Ms. B, and Ms. C for that 3 people for this project. Ms. B suddenly says, hey, I got to go on emergency leave. In a job-based one team, it would be tough. It would take us a long time to find out how to give this person an emergency leave. In a person-based one, by the very nature of this, what shall I say, structure, inbuilt flexibility, it takes hardly a few moments for that person to check. It's the job of HR to check and tell them, to make data available in a good system. Job of HR is to make this data available. It's up to the user to extract that data. So he would access the system and see, okay, hey, I got 2 more people who have the same skills. So he prioritizes which one is slightly better than the other, would approach that person. Okay, so flexibility is built into the system because of this constant upgradation of skills and huge variety of skills and competencies that are being developed by the people there in these teams. person-based, usually the workforce is it's like lean and mean types, because each person is so multi-skilled that the organization doesn't really need a huge client base. So each team, each time there's a client that comes in, that project would be immediately attended to by a newly made team. And one huge advantage here is lateral movement of people is possible. A person could seamlessly move from one team to another because his requirement there is more critical than here. Or he could move into two other teams on short-term basis and come back here to finish his work here. So everything is possible because of this, not just multi-skill. It's a breadth of knowledge that matters here. Limitations are there, of course, any system. Job-based, it can end up being a bureaucratic kind of setup. People talking only through the chain and nothing lateral. It may end up as being a little bit inflexible, but these are small worries. Similarly, in person-based, here too, it could end up being a little bit of a bureaucracy. Person-based, the bigger risk is it will require cost controls. In a person-based company, you cannot say that, hey, I'm going to pay only so much to a person. You cannot say that. You would have to have a flexi payout. If a person has come in, base requirement is this. But hey, this guy has this qualification too. He has, or the third one has these 4 extra qualifications and a little bit of experience in each. So who should we take? One person wants 10,000 a month, the other wants 5,000, 10,000, of course, go for that. So in a company that is working on a person-based process, they would go for the person with 4 extra skills and pay that person double the salary, because they know that that person can handle 4 extra projects in 4 different, say, sectors. Okay, so person-based has its huge advantages. Then incentive programs. Today, if you see around, I not found any exciting incentive programs here, in UAE. Because maybe, it's the attitude of the employees themselves. Because, in HR, we are supposed to be, I mean, it's a very unkind thing to say. One of my professors always used to say that every company gets the HR that it deserves. So the people who I've seen here, the ones who make incentive programs, there's nothing, they don't apply their minds, they don't want to do anything different from last year. And last year also, they did nothing different from the previous year. So essentially, in 2023, we are still making incentive plans that are very similar to probably what my father made as an incentive plan here in 1990s. Nothing has changed. So, because one thing we as a entire sector of trade and commerce and manufacturing, barring say about 15 or 20% of the companies, in the balance companies, we have, I think, failed to convey the message of development. In my own experience, I'm sharing, we had a big team in HR. So we had a brainstorming meeting. We spent 2 days setting together an excellent incentive plan. So it was a little bit of cash component. There was one good gift. If the it was a what do you call, a necklace or a chain, a simple chain, gold chain, plus a ticket to go to Europe. Now, in any commercial entity, giving an individual just a ticket to go around the place and come back seems pretty gross. So what we did was, we hooked up with an educational institution we knew there, and we paid for certificate program in sales, certificate program in advanced sales, because this was the sales team we were sending. So anyone who does more than 110% achievement would get sent on this. You know what happened? 16 people qualified. We made all arrangements. Got their passports, sent it for Shenzhen visa, everything. Got appointments also. Then just a couple of days before the appointment, about 3 or 4 people walk up. They came in, met me one by one. It's some of them spoke in their mother tongue. One guy spoke in English. That's only difference. Message was same. Can you please cancel this for us and pay us cash instead of this? What do I tell them? I mean, it's pathetic. But I can't blame them because they've never been, I mean, they've never seen anything beyond what they've seen around them. That's it. They don't know the world. They don't know anything about life. They've just seen their villages and then they're seen UAE. So what do I tell them? I try to tell them that, what you learn by going out for, those are 2 weeks trip. What you learn by going out and interacting with people in another land that is far more developed than you for 2 weeks is worth far more than the few hundred dirhams that you get in your bank account. They didn't understand. So finally I told them, if you want, you go. If you don't want, don't go. There's no cash. Then all of them went. So we have this resistance factor, which is quite big time out here. Because we have to be careful about it. So first step here, which are not, unfortunately not mentioned here in incentive programs, is education. Education of your teams. If you're sure that you got a very good program, I'm sure that no one would, not no one, a bulk of the people, the target audience would not understand it. So start by educating them first. But don't give up on the incentive programs, because these are the heart of any comp and ben program. A good, healthy kind of incentive program would have individual performances as well as group performance incentives. Individual, it's very simple. I think all of us know about it, but try to keep it as interesting as possible. There should be merit pay. Merit pay is one who performs more gets more. Piecework is not always possible. All these cannot be implemented everywhere. Piecework is for manufacturing sector and places where number of units that are sold or manufactured can be counted. So keep a benchmark. Anything sold above that per piece, you get so much. Sales compensation is very common. Whatever you sell above a certain benchmark, you get so much of a percentage, 1.5% of the excess sold above this. Another step, say 105 to 110 is one figure, 115 to 125% sales would be another figure. Sales compensation. It's usually between 1.5 to 3.5%. Cash awards are great. I really love it because it's a simple, straightforward, fixed award. Anyone selling so much or anyone achieving for back office teams and support teams, keep the achievement as those evaluation points. For anyone who achieves more than higher than 4 or higher, 4.5 on the overall evaluation at that point in time, get so much. 4 to 4.5, they would get, let's say, 5,000 dirhams. 3.5, they would get 4,500. 3, they would get 3,000. That's it. Below 3, no awards in support teams. Because 3 is just very good. So there's nothing much to be given out there. You could even give a token reward of, say, 500 dirhams at 3. Okay, so it's very minimal. Recognition programs, now these are great. Recognition programs are really wonderful for motivation of people. For anyone. Imagine yourself. Even if you're working in a small company, of 10 people, if the owner of the company comes and says, hey, yesterday, Mr. So-and-so did something really wonderful. So, and then reads out what he had done. It may be getting a big order from a big client, opening up a new, vendor, a new supplier, whatever, done something great. So he announces it and he says, and just to, ensure that we all remember this contribution from him, I would like to give him the certificate. Okay, would that person feel happy or not? I mean, just imagine. Not a big function. It is not in a public place, no function, no announcements, no celebratory lunch. It's just a stand-up, everyone stands up on their places and the owner comes and makes a short speech and hands over a certificate to one of the guys. He's a mature chap. He will not feel upset, right? Hey, what is this? Piece of paper he's putting on your head. No, he wouldn't say that. He would be happy, right? At least I would be, because if I'm working in a company, even if there are only 3 people in the company, if those 2 realize that, okay, hey, this guy's contributed, or if the 2 of us, we recognize the contribution of the 3rd person, he would be happy. So recognition programs work on that basis. Group performance, again, it's something where you can have, I have only enumerated some here. There are huge lot of this, hugely variable. Group performance over and above this, we used to send people out to resorts. The bigger the performance, above 100% for the team, we used to send them out for that many more extra days. And we used to negotiate with the owner of the company to give special leave so that their annual vacation leave is not spoiled. That was one small thing we used to do. So the maximum we are given is 5 days. Oh, sorry, 5 nights. 5 nights, 6 days. That is one whole week. Once somebody did a team did double its target. So gain sharing, these various plans, Scandin plan, Rucker plan, InfoShare, there are various ways of contributions. There's small variations. Profit sharing. Profit sharing is different. Profit sharing, the company makes benefits because profit is shared. In incentives, what happens? You perform, you get an incentive, right? In India, we say that you should give the reward before the person's sweat dries on his body. That's how prompt we should be, ideally. But here, what happens? Profit sharing. We are happy because we need to give profit sharing only once the profits are booked. Returns are now, we have to file returns also, corporate tax returns. So practically in bigger companies, they'll be filing corporate tax, booking the profits, filing the returns, doing everything. Finally, the year has ended in December, payout will happen in May or June. By February or March, the tax filing would have happened, or maybe a bit earlier. But for final, board to approve, approve the books would be at least April. So you're delaying payments by about 4 months. So this is great for the company, but people are happy. The people who are getting profit sharing, they feel very motivated and happy. Hey, look, I'm now sharing profits of the company. He's become in his mind, he's become a director of the company. He was sharing profits. So nothing bad. I'm not saying it's bad. Risk sharing plans. Risk sharing is also called a negative incentive. No one does it. I've not heard of anyone do it. There are people who threaten to do it. That means if this is a very simple thing. Person doesn't perform, you deduct from his allowances or salary. No one really does it. And in UAE, I don't think you can do it. Then we have ESOPs. If you can do it, nothing like it. It's a hugely satisfying thing for the employees as well as the company. And performance sharing plans. Performance sharing, again, I've not seen here. It can be done. Not that it cannot be. Performance sharing is simple. Like if there are 5 people in a team, one person is not able to do his 100% of his target. So his balance 20% is usually performed by the rest of the team members. Other 4 or 5 people would, perform extra to ensure that the team has done 100 or 105 or 110. Okay, so this person who has not been able to achieve 100 will still get some incentives, group incentives he would get. And whenever you design incentives, please ensure one simple thing. Basic requirement here is it should be line of sight. That means transparent. The test of transparency is what we were taught to do, and when I have to make incentives, I ensure I do it. The target, that means the employee who would be eligible to receive those incentives, should be able to calculate her own or his own incentives. And that guy's figures, the employee's figures, and the HR or the departmental figures should tally, or be at least very close, because then we say, yes, we have line of sight incentives. Then we have individual and group incentives of the business. Okay, so then we come on to one of the real important things that we should keep in mind when we are doing all these things. Today, if you ask any person on the road that whatever you are working as, if you get a confirmed offer letter from Google saying that, let's say you meet a person who's working as a research and development manager or an admin manager in a company. So you tell him you get a confirmed offer letter from Google, Alphabet company, which says that they are appointing you in the same designation, same everything, same salary, 5% extra, and not a joke. It's a confirmed offer. Most of your worries are taken care of. There's nothing to worry or fight about. So would you like to join that company? Everything is equal, your current company and Google. So would you like to go to Google? Just for fun, I learned this exercise. But people don't think that I'm doing it for fun. They think it's serious. So one of them got up. He said, "Doc, are you serious?" Of course. He says, "What is it? I mean, you're sending an email." So I said, "No, I'm not sending anything. Sit down." So this one person who, the moment I said, that guy's response was, "Oh, wow, Google." So here, when we say employer branding and EVP, a high EVP is that wow. Wow, Google. So that wow is this. Employee value perception or the employer power of the employer branding depends on these few factors. For the number one, the most important factor for a very good EVP is a corporate brand. Today, when you talk about, say, a GE, General Electric Company, or a Tata's, or I believe these guys, what is it? In the new businesses, Google, all these guys, the biggest thing about them is their branding, corporate brand, and the value it has. Today, if you ask people that, hey, I'll get you a job in Alibaba, would you like to join? I'll get you a promotion there. Do you think a person would quit his job, stable job, and join Alibaba? No, the answer is no. Because Alibaba, the life of a person there, of an employee there, is very short. The world knows it. So the corporate brand depends upon the stakeholders, how they project themselves. So the image of the stakeholders becomes the image of the company. Prospective employees are the guys who came and could not get selected, they leave. But what do they say about the company? Matters a lot. Customers, what do the customers speak about the company, and the market forces? These four factors build up the corporate brand. They make the company a wow or avoid, depends. Then there is something called employer brand strategic platform. An employer brand strategic platform, EBSP, is what? Simple. Is the company's mission, vision, and values. What are the CSR activities they are doing? These build up visibility of the company, a positive or a negative visibility of the company. EBSP also depends a lot on the leadership. It would also depend on, various types of people management techniques that are policies that are being used. It also, EBSP would also depend on what kind of assessments or, performance management systems are used. So, and plus, of course, innovations. A company which is big into innovations. They say that what we did yesterday, we don't do tomorrow. Fine. So, employees are quite motivated and quite happy in such situations because forever they're living a new life. Typically everything is new for them. Second big factor in a wow EVP is EBEP, employer brand, employee platform. This is very simple. I mean, an EBEP is what we do to help the employees perform. It's simple, that's it. So there's a list of few factors given here. So when you come into the program, you'll get all these details. So it's all about what kind of people we get into the company, how much money and how do we give it to them, what is the career development and so on and so forth. So this would build up the EBEP, how we facilitate their performance. When all these things are in place, comes the outcome of a very high or an average or a bad EVP, employee value proposition. It's the employee's perception of the company as a whole. Okay, so that's what I wanted to just cover. I mean, this was like a peep into what we can learn. It's one of the topics, multiple topics that we cover in our certifications.